Hi, it's Conversations here on NTA. My name is Nike, and as you know, Conversations is where we talk about issues that affect you and me. We have a big topic today. We're going to be dissecting it bit by bit. But first, let's see who's in the house.
You managed to drag me down here, Nike. I'm not going to complain. It's okay. My name is Elizabeth, and it's always a pleasure to come in and lend my voice once in a while on this set.
What will I say?
Tell us who you are, what you do.
I've been arrested. Now, I'm left alone in the midst of two women again, because that's what I'm always told to do. My name is Chooks.
Hi, Chooks. Welcome to the set. We'll be talking about emergency management, which is a big issue right now in the country. We know about what's been going on in the news, the building collapse in Itafaji, and even more recently in Ibadan. It's becoming a bit more, it happens a bit more often, and it's managing such situations. A lot of us have no technical know-how of what to do. So we'll be talking about that. We'll even get to hear from some experts on how to even manage such situations. But first, we'll take a break here in the conversation room. Stay with us.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start off the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. So if she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day, I got tired of all that and I
It's Conversations, and today it's all about emergency management. But before we get to emergency management, what are your thoughts on these really old buildings? Should they be managed, or do you think that they should be leveled altogether?
Well, I think they should be destroyed. Going by what happened in Lagos recently, it's so heartbreaking when you watch and you hear that those buildings have been there for long and they have been marked for demolition, and some people are sleeping on it. Now look at the tragedy it has caused to many homes now. Now it's not only the immediate family, the business, the whole thing. Now secondly, even the school that went to rent the building, didn't they do their background check? Because when we talk about emergency management, it has a lot to do with information dissemination, the system, the government, we individuals. Because if you hear this road is bad, don't go on that road. If you hear this building is ready to be demolished, don't go there. If people didn't rent that building, it would have given maybe the owner the thought to say, okay, I want to change, or I want to sell, or government to come and demolish before it causes damage. Everybody is sleeping. So when it has to do with emergency, it should be treated as emergency. The name emergency means treat it as emergency. So for every building that is old, that is due for demolition, it should go. You're not, sometimes people, you know, we look at human face when it looks like buildings are going to go off, but we forget the damage it's going to cause. And now look at what he has just done. Nobody will, you can't equate the damage this thing has done to the building when you had left it, if they had left the building to be up, I'll still be there standing. So if it's emergency, it should be treated as emergency.
That's an emergency.
That's my view.
You know, you're even going far. A lot of times, our people, we want to do things on the cheap side. What do I mean? Probably people who went to that place to acquire that place for accommodation, they were probably told it's 100,000, 200,000 cheaper than what usually is. And they go like, okay, this is cheaper, let's go, you know. And the landlords, a lot of times, they're also given a cost of renovation. They feel like, I can save this money, gain another 1 year. The worst part of it is that I'm not saying there is no God. We believe in God, and God will always protect. But like I tell people, I'm a Christian. Jesus went up to the, mountain, and the devil said, jump. He will send his angels. And he said, you should not tempt the Lord thy God. He knows he has the capacity, but he also knows that he should not push beyond bound. He won't say because China is a communist town, you enter Mao's car and drive off. It doesn't work like that. So you tell yourself, if I have to do this, there's a limit to what I can do. You don't go and push in, okay, let me get 1 year, nothing will happen, God will protect. You find out, recently somebody was going to buy a piece of land, and lo and behold, there was, what do they call this thing now? This
Caveats?
big, not caveats.
Okay, high tension.
High tension, around there. And she got a place. They said it was 3 million. The other one with the high tension was 2.5. She said, okay, let her just get after. The high tension did not exactly cross on her own plot. It's the next plot. Luckily I got into the matter. I said, don't do this. If this high tension leaks at any point in time, it's going to move from your own to the next person to the next person.
Yeah.
And the effects I've seen it happen once. A lot of people lost their lives. So why do we always believe in, I'm not saying cheap things are not good, but when you're buying cheap things, also check for quality.
Yeah.
We should make extra efforts. And if everybody says no to such buildings, nobody will go in there. That's my take.
Me, I believe cheap is not cheap.
You don't?
Cheap is not cheap. It has happened to me as a person many times, especially when it has to do with, you see shoes and you want to buy the shoe, and you think the shoes are cheap. You buy the cheap shoe, after like 2-3 months, you see that it's not cheap. Now, if you're going to buy one thing repeatedly 4-5 times, why not spend money to buy the quality one that will last a longer time? Cheap is not cheap.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut.
You know what you mentioned about cheap and shoes. Yeah, I quickly remember the story back in the days, like 50 years back. Somebody who was, called to MC, and he wasn't a comedian, but I could find out that suddenly that minute he became a comedian. He bought a shoe, and the shoe was cheap, and then just when they announced him to come and take the microphone, the heel of the shoe,
the emergency happened.
The heel of the shoe came up. So he was wearing one leg, the sole, the cover alone, and the other one full shoe. And then he walked up to the podium and first of all ridiculed himself, then asked for slippers. I said he managed it was good
situation quite well, yeah.
But we all knew that, it was what really happened.
Our system, when it has to do with emergency, has to improve.
It does.
It has to improve. If you ever see a house on flames, you will understand that our emergency system is very poor. You see,
how many people in their homes even have fire extinguishers?
Fire extinguishers.
We always think it's for road safety,
No, I always advise people that the things that the road safety man is asking you on the road for, it's not for the road safety man, it's for you.
It's for you.
You will appreciate the job of the road safety man when you see someone's car burning and there is no fire extinguisher. You see that the road safety man asks you to use seatbelt. If accident happens, it's not affecting the road safety man. It's the person in the car that will affect.
Somebody once told me, is it not my accident? Is it not my life?
Oh, imagine that.
Now, when the car is on fire on the road, you have to come out to save yourself. So until you see that all the things that are required by the road safety from you is to preserve you, you will begin to appreciate their job.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you brought the car and the fire. Sometimes when these situations happen on the road, people park because they want to help, but sometimes they cause even more problems on the road because you can see cars slowing down, you can see maybe a car is on fire or someone is in distress, and even that could cause a problem because most people don't even park off the road properly. And then if you look at some of the footage of what happened in Itafaji, there were so many people. The crowd was not controlled at all. I don't know if you saw when one of the girls was brought out of the way they handled her. I could see the oxygen mask over her head. And I was like, we don't even know if this girl has any damage to her body in any way. There should be a set way of handling someone being evacuated from the building very carefully. But, for them, they've seen her, she's alive, let's just get her out of there. I think she was not handled properly.
You know, a lot of times people come out from such incidents and they don't make it. You know, even when they move to the hospital, they get to die because of the kind of poor management administered to such people. When someone has an accident, I know there are certain ways, Nick, I don't know, you're going to have to help us with that later. There are certain ways of coping with such people. I know there are ways to keep them. I don't know if he's lying down is the best or sitting down. Maybe we'll get to find out later. But I know basically you need a lot of space. You need fresh air. In the civilized world, you often see the yellow tape, removing people. But in Nigeria, we oversympathize. It's not wrong. But I remember a particular advert.
Oversympathize, I think, is the word. Everybody.
Is our culture.
Is it though?
To show sympathy. We want to make people see that we're trying to help.
I beg to differ.
Because personally, if I see an accident on the road, I'm not a doctor. I'm not nearing
There's
that.
a thin line between oversympathetic and being nosy. Half the time, most of them have their phones out and they're just recording.
Yeah,
they're not helping you. They're not helping you at all.
Yes, it's true. And the recording thing is getting out of hand.
It really is. It really is.
They want to be the first to post it, you know. It's not a bad thing to do, but don't get it in such a way that you now begin to, hurt the person. Like when the picture you talked about, when I was watching it on the NTA, I noticed that a particular boy that had his black jersey, up and down, when he was being, brought out, he was trying to get up. The crowd, they were pressing him down, and I was like, leave this boy alone. The stretcher they even had, the stretcher couldn't touch the floor because the crowd was pulling. And I'm like, this person needs fresh air. He just came from a place he was being suffocated. Now he's out to the world, and we're even adding more pressure. So the little oxygen he needs to take in, it's gone. I don't know.
I think the government, the NOA, National Orientation Agency, may take it up as a duty to educate more on emergency management. If people are aware of what to do when such things happen, I think even if the crowd are coming out, someone who is knowledgeable enough could also be there to tell them, no, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. Yeah. Like the three of us here, and I'm sure that we don't even know how it's done when we have such emergency. You understand? We might be novices to that, but should we have the knowledge on the right steps to take? The NOA has a lot of job to do. It's not only focusing on maybe on elections or government. Yeah. There are some basic knowledge that we should disseminate to people. Now, it has become so common in Lagos and other places that buildings collapse. So what should people do when buildings collapse? What are the steps to take? What exit route? What entrance route? What means? How many people are allowed in a vicinity? What people are we supposed to reach out to? So that when people know the things to do, I'm sure people will apply them. Everybody might not be willing to do that, but you see a lot of people, no, this is not the right thing. During the last election, we saw what happened. They taught us how to vote. They taught us what to do. And it really worked. People applied it. If you had gone out to see the election, you see that there's an improvement from what we used to have.
Yes,
now, if NOH should take it up and say, okay, fine, now we've seen that buildings are collapsing, things are happening, emergencies, these are the emergencies. If they could come out to tell us, should this happen, this is what you do, this is what you do, I'm sure people would also learn from that.
But I don't know if it's a function of NOA or more of the Emergency Management Agency when it comes to educating the people in the masses, the populace,
I think they could do that in collaboration with the experts.
They could actually, because the orientation, when you talk about orientation, it should be, in every arm of living, be it social, be it medical, be it whatever, we should be able to educate people. But then, talking about crowd control, I think, have you tried to look at press conference? A lot of times people call for press conference. I've happened to have been in presence of one or two. I almost didn't find a place for myself. The first thing they do to show you that they have affluence, a lot of it, they're important, they invite like 10,000 media houses. And I'm like, would they even be able to watch all this? How many of them can I listen to at a time? The worst part is everybody's struggling for space. I did it too. So we tried to shove the microphone into the mouth of Sometimes I watch these things on TV. I'm like, this is really
It's uncomfortable to watch sometimes when
It's
you see
uncomfortable.
it's just so many microphones phones facing the person.
You know, and it's not an organized form. They're
Yeah.
chasing you, they're shoving this in your mouth, and sometimes the people who are calling for this press conference, they don't even get to, you know, look at the people they are inviting. There are media houses that are not registered.
Yeah.
There are media houses that are security risk. You bring them in, rather than do you good, they do you bad.
Yes. Of course.
So I
Yes.
think we
Yes.
should actually try to find a way of cutting that. It's like me when I'm ill. I don't know, in Nigeria, of course I'm in Nigeria, we have a way of trying to sympathize quite, you know, a lot. When I'm ill, I like my space. But I find out that people don't want to give you that space.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
You have a headache and you're trying to rest. You probably told your friend, your sister, I have a headache, I want to rest. Or I have a fever, I'm going to the hospital.
Yes.
Now, we have text messages, we have WhatsApp. You can send those things. I'll read them. But you find out that all through your sleeping time,
Calls are waking you up.
calls are waking you up.
Shut down your
Especially
phone.
when you're on admission in a hospital, and I
They will
see
call you, I want
the
to know how you're-
frustration that the nurses face sometimes, because there's a set visiting period for I don't know, between 4 and 8 p.m. or whatever, but someone comes in at 11, then another person at 12, then 1:30, another person is passing by, you know, so it's very hard to manage, but that is a form of crowd control. The person ideally should be resting, should be recuperating, you know, just give the person some time and space. So I'm not really an advocate for going to see people on admission so much unless I'm very, very close to the person. I'll send a message, I will call, but visiting the person,
Nikki, there are
I
people,
hardly
if
do
you
that.
don't visit, you in trouble.
Oh,
There are people, if you don't
I
visit,
was hospitalized. You refused to come and see me. You know?
you must visit them. You understand? But
Would
you, know,
you be offended if I didn't come, but I sent you a
No.
message and called?
frankly speaking,
Definitely not.
frankly speaking, I don't pray to be in a hospital, but I don't want to be visited.
It's not very healthy.
I love a lot of things about me personal. When things happen, like, I don't believe in RIP. I don't do it. I don't write it. When people, if you like, if all of us like, let us be 100, and everybody writes RIP, I will not, because I don't believe in things that I don't believe that's in existence.
Yeah.
You can't see somebody that's not living in peace in Nigeria, say rest in peace. So a lot of things, we should also culture ourselves to what we believe, stand by it, practice it. If you distinguish yourself, when people begin to see the value in you, they'll begin to copy those things.
Yeah.
I try as much as possible within my environment to give out the little I can give out. If I can show love, I would go to the extreme of showing love, so that people around me could learn love and also apply love. Then if I can show giving, people around me can see giving, I also apply giving, so that people would learn. You understand? But in order not to move our way on our topic of discussion, something has been hitting my head. You know, when we talk about emergency, how do hospitals handle emergency cases?
That's another topic entirely.
It is.
It is another topic entirely.
Because this issue of you have to, because I read something, a friend of mine posted on Facebook that she almost lost a colleague of hers who had an accident on the way, and they had to go to a hospital, and the hospital said you must have
deposit.
You must have card. You must have this. And the person was almost dying. Okay, they say you must deposit. And she said that the colleague that took this person to the hospital didn't have cash but had ATM. And the POS point machine wasn't working. And they insisted you must bring money. They had to call someone. And this person was dying. So should we continue to allow people die because of money?
Because of money, yeah.
I heard a certain riot somewhere in Abuja here. You know, a group of young people went to protest against a hospital here in Abuja. You know, their friend died, a young girl in her late 20s or something, because the nurses didn't attend to...
Yeah, I heard the nurses denied that they
said
later brought the footage of video. And how could you just... Is it not only you?
Was she was alive at the time when she got to the hospital?
Yes, alive, yes.
Okay,
They
and they
didn't attend
refused
her.
to?
You know, even when it's gone
Because
short,
of money, or?
I don't know. Even when it's gone short, you know, they will ask you to bring police reports before
first.
the
But that's currently a law to that effect.
Is it?
There's a law. They've enacted a law that
Are the
said
hospitals
that,
aware?
Yes. No, the National Assembly had stepped in.
Okay.
They enacted a law and said that if no more issue of police report, that the hospital should treat first.
And retain you.
Yes, before the hospital. If they have challenge, they should alert the police. You understand? But they should save the life first. There's a law to that effect now.
Because somebody could be on the road and you get shot. At the end of the day, you die off because you're looking for a police report.
Even this money thing, you have to deposit money. Why don't we save life first?
But I thought that the oath they take includes that.
It's supposed
to. The doctor
happened
tell
to
you,
me.
I'm not, yes, but they don't pay me salary because I took oaths to save life.
And also I think because over time there have been one too many experiences where people, they treat them immediately, and once they get better, they walk out of the hospital and they don't settle their bills. It's happened to a lot of people.
Okay. Now,
so
but something could come up with that. I think, I don't know, but I don't know if NGOs could come into that, where you see, okay, hospitals, NGOs could reach out to hospitals and say, in the event that something happen, consult us. And let's see, because, sorry, you know,
well,
one place we can blame the hospitals. The other way we can also not blame them so much, because at the end of the month, all the workers there will want to pay salary. Yes. And if they will do their work on charity.
Yes.
Money won't come. That's why one man somewhere now, but at the time, I think they finally demolished the hospital. They said he had a prison in his hospital. You know, those who are owing, he puts you in the upper chamber, more like a prison. The wife said it was like a prison, where they lock you up until your money comes out, or you work for it, you know. I don't know. I don't encourage that, but really we should be able to be civilized enough to do what is right. Treat people if you can, and then maybe at a point you start demanding for that money. Once the worst is over, you can begin to demand or even report to a certain authority. That's my take. If you come in and then in 2 days you're not paying, we should have an undertaking in front of a lawyer and maybe law enforcement agents, and then we get to know your details, investigate it. I'll treat you. The way you fail me, I also make sure that I take my pound of flesh. I don't mind if the blood is there too.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll be speaking to a medical professional on exactly what to do in cases of an emergency, whether you are an experienced professional or not. Some people have training in first aid and some don't. So we'll be speaking to the person and we'll be getting lots of tips. This is Conversations here on NTA Network. We'll be right back.
Sometimes we are in the scene of an incident in which someone collapses in our presence, either following an impact from a road traffic accident, or the patient drowned during swimming, or while eating, it might just collapse. And a lot of times, urgent action is needed to save the patient's life. 2 questions we need to ask when the patient collapses like this gentleman that is on the floor. First, we want to find out if he is breathing, and secondly, if he has a pulse. So we go on our knees or go close to the patient on the floor, and we grab the hand and check for pulse. Okay, the pulse is around the outer part of the hand. We check for pulse. We can also check for pulse around the carotid artery. There's a pulsation there. So if there's a pulse and it's just collapsed, and we check for the breathing, the chest is moving up and down, then this is not a very serious situation. But if he's unconscious and there's pulse and there's breathing, all you need to do is to turn the patient to his left lateral position. And by that, you do this. Okay, and this leg is like this, okay, and he's like this. He will be fine. By this position, we prevent the tongue from falling back to occlude his airways, and so he's still able to breathe. And if for any reason he's bleeding from the mouth or from the throat, the blood or whatever secretions is coming out from him will go right out through the mouth. But if he is left in this position while unconscious, this position is very risky for an unconscious person. Yeah, because the tongue can fall back and block the airways, and that can lead to instant death. So for an unconscious patient that still has a pulse rate and is still breathing, the right thing to do is to turn him to the left lateral position. Observe that I folded this leg halfway, I flexed it, okay, and this leg is straight, and this, he's lying on this, the right arm, while this left arm is in this position. But more importantly is the head. The head is, the left ear is on the ground, while the right ear is facing up, and you can see that his mouth is towards the ground. So in case of any secretions, the secretions can go out. That's the first case scenario. In the second circumstance, let's say we just brought him out from the swimming pool. By the way, if someone is drowning in a swimming pool and you cannot swim, you are advised not to go after him, because if you go, that would mean 2 casualties. But if a skillful person can go after the person and rescue the person, the right thing to do is to bring him close, out of the water and put him on the ground. And while he's on the ground, if the man is really drowned, chances are that he will not be breathing. Is this man breathing? He's not breathing because he has drowned. You check for the pulse, there's no pulse. You check for the peripheral pulse, there's none. That means that the man has a cardiac arrest. It means he's not breathing and the heart is not working. If he's left like this for 5 minutes to 10 minutes, he will be dead. So what do? You want to institute a measure to keep pushing the blood into the brain. And so you identify the end of the bone, the xiphysis sternum, and you put one heel, the heel of your palm here, and put another, the second one over it, with your elbow extended, that's straight. And then you compress. So when you compress, you are aiming at depressing the chest by 2 inches. That's 5 centimeters. As you do that, when you take your hand up, blood comes back to the heart. When you push down, blood moves from the heart into the brain. That can sustain the patient until help comes. How many times are you supposed to do the compression? 100 times per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 100 times per minute. If that's all you can do, you will save the patient. But you can actually do more. What is the more? The second aspect of it, we call it the kiss of life. That means you are going to give breath. You are going to give him air. So after 30 of this compression, you lift up the head, you lift up the chin like this, okay, and then open his mouth, block his nostrils, and you can put a clean rag over the mouth and deliver breath. 2 breaths after 30 compressions. What would that breath do? When you give breath, it takes air into the lungs. The air that we breathe out contains about 70% oxygen. So it can still do a good job for him. Okay? When you push in the air, if you are doing it correctly, the chest is supposed to rise. Because you have blocked the nostrils and you have opened the mouth, make sure that your mouth encircles his mouth or the victim's mouth completely. As you breathe in air, as you are breathing out right into his mouth, and that should rise his chest. So you do 30 compressions, you wait and give 2 breaths. But if you are 2 that is rescuing the patient, 1 person can be giving the breath while you are doing your compression. So you do 30, the person gives 2 breaths. You do 30, he gets 2 breaths while you call for the ambulance. And while on the way to the hospital, you continue the compression until he gets to the hospital. This simple procedure can keep patients alive until he gets to the hospital. It's important for everybody to know where the pulse is. You see, this way I'm touching now. If you put your hand there, you feel the beat, the heartbeat of the heart is transmitted down to the periphery here. Or otherwise, just below the jaw, behind the jaw, you put all your fingers there, you will feel the transmission of the heartbeats coming down to that place. So those are the pulse. It's important we know what pulse is, Because when someone collapses, you go for the pulse, there's no pulse, you check, he's not breathing, he's going to die if you don't do something in 10 minutes. I find people at the scene of accidents, one, not knowing what to do, or two, doing the wrong things. If you happen to be at the scene of the accident, the first thing to do is to rescue the victim by carrying the person carefully out of the accident scene to a safe place. And then you begin to institute some of the measures that I have talked about today. It is inhuman to pick your phone and be taking selfie to talk to the world about how severe the accident is when you could have been able to save a life. So I think the best thing to do is to gain knowledge based on the descriptions we have made here today, so that you can be able to apply that knowledge to save lives, rather than being the one that would be the carrier of the bad news.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. So if she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
Tell us exactly what to do. Do you have any first aid training? I'm not so good at it. I don't
see blood.
You can't give CPR, you can't, if someone is choking.
I don't see blood. I don't see an emergency. I run.
Really?
As up to this moment, I can't remember ever killing a fowl or a chicken. I've not.
But if a child is choking, you would know what to do, or a baby.
I'll try. But I'll just call my wife. Who is there? Come and help. Come and help.
I don't know what I'll be doing to you whenever you look for trouble. I bring blood.
I'll run.
What about Lizzie? Any first aid training? Is it?
Well, she's a mother now. Mothers do.
What?
You won't believe it. When my kids were small, I thank God my mother was alive. But now I'm heading to grandmotherhood. I don't know who's going to do that for me. If my kids throw up, I run away.
What?
You know, yeah, if they throw up, if I have to pack it, I'll probably pass out as well. So my mom knows that each time she came around, I have 3 of them, she was taking care of 4 babies. Because I will not pack anything.
Wow.
It's not bad. But I had learned over time, you know, how to manage regular fever. You know, what else do I know how to do? I know how to manage fever.
Okay.
And then I'm really a lover for, you know, herbal things.
Okay.
I don't know about English medicine.
You should have taken up a native doctor course there.
I'm training under Zainab. Hajia Zainab.
Okay.
So I can manage a few medical things, like stomach pain and all that.
What about a bite, a dog bite?
Dog bites. I don't like dogs.
Bees.
I'm not friends with dogs. So.
But you know, but you would know what to do if someone was bitten by a snake. You would know how to tie a tourniquet on. No.
You know what? Somebody once asked me a question not too long ago. If snake bites you on your neck, which part of your body do you tie? As in tie it hard.
Because you can't tie the neck like that, obviously.
So we still need an expert to actually help us in most of these things. But I know that the first thing I know what to do is I always make sure I have my emergency numbers ready. In case of fire, I think I know a bit of it. They say you pour water mixed with a little bit of detergent. You know, if it's your car or somewhere, it helps.
Yes.
But then I'll always call an emergency person to help me out.
Which is
in case
true.
of fire, the first thing you try to do is know the source. If you can unplug the source, if it's coming from the gas cooker, if you can stop it, it's easier to quench that fire than when you're pouring water on detergent.
Yes.
Now, secondly, there's one that went viral one time. You asked to see if you have more soaked towel to ensure that you enclose that fire and don't allow it opportunity to spread. It limit the fire expanding or reaching to other places.
Okay.
The best way for fire is try to ensure that you enclose that fire and not allow it to spread. That way you'll be able to not allow it to get to other places.
Okay.
You understand? So instead of running out of fear, because most times people run out
It's our
out of
fear
fear.
that
Yes.
kills us most.
Yes,
I also heard
yes,
that
yes.
you can actually, if it's a lot of smoky environment, lying low, you have more oxygen down
Yes,
there.
Okay,
yes.
you know.
yes.
And then if you have a wet blanket or
Yes,
towel,
wet
like you said,
blanket,
if you wrap it,
yes, yes.
you can actually
Run
run
out
across.
across,
You know,
yes.
the
I
fire.
think if I was to go, or if I say I needed training in anything, it would be how to handle the fire extinguisher.
It's easier.
At that point in time?
In Nigeria, I think the fire service organization are doing very well. If you reach out to them, they come train.
They come and train?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you reach out to them, no, that one I could give to them because they've come to train in our office, they've come to train in my business place. They are willing to come train.
Okay.
They are willing to give all those trainings.
Because I wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
I have it in my kitchen. But if there really was a fire, I'm not sure I would even know.
And they will teach you the one you buy. You know, it's not all of them that's
so I
good for a
heard.
particular fire. So they also tell you the type you need at home
Okay.
and the type you need in a particular place. So,
Okay.
you know, most times also we also blame the government. We don't blame ourselves. In all our discussions here, we've not taken any responsibility ourselves.
No, which is
now,
true.
There are ones we need to do. And if you ask questions now, you can ask that. Most of us here may not have fire extinguishers in our homes. Because those should be our first aid too. When you talk about first aid, you go to everybody's home, you might see a first aid box. But nobody has ever thought about having a fire extinguisher near your generator, having a fire extinguisher near your kitchen. You
Yes.
don't see it. And even when you have it, how often do you check? Even the one in our
Whether it
cars,
has expired.
how often do we check if it has expired? And when a road safety man catches us on the road, you say, yeah, I have a fire extinguisher. You've not checked if it's expired. So all these things also we need to take care of it ourselves.
Yes.
Now, fire extinguisher in our homes is very important. Not only have it, also let people know how to do it.
use them.
Now, where is your emergency point in your home? Because there has to be an emergency point in every home. If you meet a fire service officer, they will teach you, in the event of emergency, this is where everybody should run. So whoever is not here at so and so limit, you start looking for that person. So it's not something you run helter-skelter. Now, they will tell you there is a point where everyone gathers. I forgot what word they call that. Everybody must come that place at that particular point in time so that they can do a count or know who and who within the house is missing.
Yes.
So they will know how to go in for rescue. You understand? So if we understand that in our homes, it's easier, even for our kids. In case you see this is what you do. Now, if we're going to raise alarm, you have mentioned something that is so good. What number do we call? Now, do we have kids that can also raise alarm, give directions? How often do we train our children to also raise alarm? Because it may not happen when the adults are at home also.
Yes, which
You
is
understand?
true.
So what lectures or lessons are we giving our children at home? In case this happens, this is how you go, this is how you go. And also, when we move into homes, what exit routes do we have? Some people, you see that it's only one entrance, one exit. Nobody has this entrance and exit. So if anything happens, if it's happening in that place, everybody's choked inside. So it also go to the town plan, the building plans that we have. What kind of building plans do we have in the city?
Yeah.
What kind of building plans are we having so that if there is any emergency, people can have an exit way to go out. If you go to many organizations today, they'll tell you in case of emergency, follow this route.
Yes.
Now, do we have such in our homes? How often do we train our people? In case of this emergency, follow this. Because, yeah, it's not every day that we'll hear about building collapse. But, you know, the fire issue also is nothing. It's not something that we cannot just pull out.
Which is also true. And
It's even very regular, very rampant.
Yeah.
More rampant than
Yes.
the building collapse.
Yeah, so
None of them good anyway.
I was going to say that in the cases of parents of small children, some children swallow things that they're not meant to.
good.
That's also an emergency. You
Very
need to
serious
think
one,
very,
very
fast.
serious, very serious.
You know, our grandmothers back then would pump the child's stomach with palm oil. You know, I don't know if that's really effective, but I know my cousin she did that in the UK, and she did that. I think he swallowed, you know, the silica gel that they use, they put in bags, things like that. So he thought it was sugar and just swallowed it. She first poured palm oil down her throat, then called poison control, and they were like, oh no, she didn't need to do that, and now told her all the different things to do. But the African mother, the typical African mother.
Oh no, that's our own. And it's been working. Our own has been working.
So the palm oil thing.
Yeah, so the typical African mother will reach for palm oil first to neutralize whatever it is that has entered
coconut
the chest.
water.
Oh, coconut water. I've never heard of that.
I survived that. I survived emergency matter growing up. I was radical. I had tangerine. I was trying to swallow one, and half of it went off and blocked my throat, and I couldn't breathe.
Oh my God.
So I was gasping for air, and I was running. So the only person I could run to was my elder sister, and I couldn't talk. I just was pointing my hand in my mouth. She just told me to bend down. I just bent down. She hit my back.
Boy.
It fell off.
African style.
I didn't eat tangerine for how long? I started eating tangerine after I've grown. In fact, my father, out of anger, had to go cut the tangerine tree. You understand? So sometimes we don't know this. It happens.
Wow.
Yes. Sometimes you see someone choking. I read one. I don't know how truthful it is. It said when you're choking, when it's pepperish, you don't take water.
Really?
No, but when you actually have pepper in your mouth, like you eat spicy stuff, if you drink water, at the time the water is going down, it actually feels okay. But once it's out, it's doubled up.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed that.
Say when you're choking, instead of trying to go for water, you should close your mouth, close your nose,
and breathe.
Open your mouth.
Okay.
Close your nose, open your mouth. So it helps.
Okay.
I've tried that personally once or twice. It was okay.
Yeah.
But, I'm not a professional, so I'm on air. So people should
But
yes, of course.
Because even when I feel choked, water is always the last thing for me.
It is?
It's always the last thing for me because I feel like I don't have space for air. How am I going to get space for water?
Yeah.
So, and one, you talked about your sister hitting you real hard. I know that when babies feed, we want to help them birth. We rub the
their
back.
back.
Yes.
And tap it a little, and then when they belch, they sleep better. So I think it's kind of it works, but I'm sure that
one helped me.
But now, for instance, in the case of fish bones, don't you think water would help, or are you supposed to just cough it out? Because I've had, and I've had some bad experiences with fish bones. When I'm cooking for the twins, I am constantly trying to. If I could use tweezers to start removing every little bit of fish when I'm trying to throw it into sauce for them, I don't know. Is it better to just try and cough out the bone, or is it better to use water to send it the other way?
Does water send it? I think it's...
swallow a bar, make a big bowl.
If you can't, for me, if you can't use a bar, if you try to get...
Put a finger.
Yes, the baby will just bring it out.
Oh, okay.
I've never thought of that.
Never tried that.
I usually just
we
try.
that grew up in the village, we have a lot of techniques that came from the village. Well, these urban people that we that grew up with our grandmother, we saw a lot of things, with our grandmothers.
When you said something about road, I remember something that happened recently. I was going home, somewhere around town. There was an accident, and the crowd control we talked about, came to play. Some people parked their cars, a whole lot of them, and went to either take videos, or probably help out, whether professional or not. But I noticed in the course of it, someone parked her car, it was a lady, and ran out. She didn't lock up. And then another person parked in a bid to go there, to look around, and went to the lady's car to pilfer. But fortunately, I was quite observant, So I said, what are you doing there? He said he's arranging, I said, it's my sister's car, who are you? At that point, the young man ran away. So I had to hang around. I had somebody with me.
You became the vigilante for the lady.
So we had to hang around. The woman
for the
came and said, look at what happened. You people should stop tempting criminals. Stop doing this kind of a thing. I know besides that happening, people use opportunities of accidents to steal, even from your home. A neighbor's house was burning while we're busy helping to move our things out. Some of the things we move out, we come back. Some people have actually relocated them.
They were helping themselves.
Honestly.
That's really sad.
Emergency control and management and crowd control, it's very important. We should always stay calm, no matter the situation.
Yes,
I think it's better you tell yourself, I'm alive. And if I'm alive and healthy, whatever I'm losing, I can always get it again.
Yes.
And with that thought in your mind, you'll be calm. A lot
Calmness
of
is number
times
one.
people are thinking, you know, somebody asked me a question. If you were to have a fire outbreak now, what would you do? What would you pick?
What was the first thing you'd pick?
I told the person, when my first daughter was 6 months old, my building was on fire. And I didn't remember I had school certificates, all my university, everything. The only thing I carried was my child. I ran downstairs. So, but luckily, before it could get to my apartment, they had stopped it. And I realized the only thing I had was my jean and my top and my baby with a shawl. That's all I had. So where your mind is actually where. But then, if I thought harder, I would have remembered, okay, I had things that were important.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, recently, on certificate, sorry, I advised my friend, we were talking on the phone, so he was looking for the wife was looking for a particular document, so I started having them. I told them, I don't know how to keep documents, but I know where all my documents are. Now, you have a bag in the house that every important document gets into that bag. So if you either arrange or not arranged, but it finds its way in that bag.
Okay.
So if you're looking for any sensitive documents, you go to that bag.
We used to call it black box. My
Yes.
mom did that.
So it helps. So
She had a black box. Everything was inside it.
if you must run, the event that you said, okay, run, pack something, and you think that's
If you
the
can
most
pick
important
one thing.
it's easy for you to pick that and move out without going to start.
Searching.
So everybody know that this is where the thing
Chukuma,
is.
you won't believe it. That day, I knew I had this black box in the house. I knew the documents were there.
But no,
But I'm
the
telling you,
but
I
the baby
was
is more
so
important.
emotionally harassed.
Of
I
course.
could have carried the baby and the documents bag, and I wasn't that heavy. But I didn't, you know, because I wasn't calm enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
calmness
And
is the key.
you need to be calm. And I know it's things that can actually happen to anybody. It's easy to talk than
Yeah,
to do it.
yes,
So
of course.
the next thing I did after that was to move everything to the bank. You know, you can actually deposit those vital documents with the bank, you know, in a vault. So
Do we really have
yeah, they still
vaults
do it.
in
They still do
Nigerian
it.
banks?
They still do it, even the post office.
The head offices or
If you go to your local banks, and they can link you up with wherever they keep it, but they will accept it for you.
Okay.
You know, and keep even the post office. Then,
I just
don't know
read about
post
that in
office.
books. I didn't really think it was
No, they still do it.
available.
Even the post office then, when I was a kid,
Yes.
you could actually leave things safe there and have a key. You know, you have just as you receive your mail, you go in there, your private box, you open it and take. You can actually leave something important in there. Nobody goes there. I don't know if people are still keeping in post office, but I know bank, yes.
Better still if you can afford it also. There is these safes that are built
Strong
now
boxes.
that
There's,
are fireproof. If you can afford it, put it in your house.
No, some people actually do that, maybe to save themselves from even robbery and all that. So they move everything away, apart from the fire. But I tell them again, the next thing to do is to save your important documents, or either on cloud or
that's also very
like
also very
me,
important.
anywhere you see me, if you catch me anywhere, I have all my documents.
yes.
All stored
And
up.
I have
You
them.
can always download
Once
them.
I have internet access anywhere,
You can
I
bring
have
them
all
out.
my documents. I can get all my documents at every place because that's the safest way. That one is not costing you any money. You're not going to any bank to knock. So what I do, if I have any
But the
sensitive
charges
document,
are not much.
yes,
though.
if I have any sensitive document, the first thing I do, I tell them to scan it in the
Scan
office.
it and-
Once they scan it, I will send it as an email to myself. You understand? Once I save it as an email, it's stored in my
It's stored.
mailbox. Anywhere I go, all I need to do is have internet access, open my mail, and I'll download and print. That way, it's easier for you, even if you lose the original, it's easier for you to go to the court and sue an affidavit and originalize the...
Yeah.
It's not the
There's-
right, it's originalizes. It's my word, though.
Speaking of the safes and the strong boxes, my aunt had one. She got and put valuable jewelry and the rest of it. And the thieves did come eventually, and they came ready. They came with a pick, and then and they broke into it and got everything they wanted. So those ones were clearly informed.
No, such
They knew.
should be in the bank, like Lisa said. We take it to the bank.
Did you put expensive jewelry in a bank?
Of course,
Yes,
that's,
no.
the major place it should go to.
Everything.
I think also there are people whose job is to keep such. I don't know.
There are people also who do that. They keep your precious and label it. They're about town, but they're not plenty of them, you know.
Okay.
But they are kept well.
Until we begin to gather stuff like that, we will not know the services. You know, if you don't have what they call that car now, you won't know where the service is. You know the cost of. God will take us there. So we will know.
Amen to that.
Anyway.
Okay, we've pretty much run out of time. We've been talking about emergency management and crowd control today in the conversation room. We'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the issue? How do you stay safe, and how do you keep the people around you, your documents, your property safe as well? Our social media handles are available on the screen. Please, let's hear from you. Our producers are itching to hear and to read all your comments and everything else. My name is Nike. On behalf of Elizabeth and Chukuma, thank you so much for joining us, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, Barry.